You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? How we doing? It's a beautiful morning. Nancy Lieberman puts Caitlin Clark in her place. I repeat, Nancy Lieberman puts Caitlin Clark in her place. Very interesting story detail that Nancy Lieberman took the time to discuss Caitlin Clark and really put Clark in her place of what Clark is, what she means to the WNBA, and what the future of the WNBA, but does very mission critical in speaking about Caitlin Clark. And I want to bring this to you because it's really detailing of what's really going on, and it really it just gets in there. Is released today. Hall of Famer and basketball idol Nancy Lieberman, also a pioneer of women's basketball, has recently highlighted how the game impact of Caitlin Clark is, highlighting the power of the rising star of the WNBA. Speaking from a perspective shaped by decades in the sport, Lieberman underlined Clark's ability to catch attention, elevate the league, and inspire a new generation of basketball fans. And that really is where the rubber meets the road for Nancy Lieberman, and really putting Caitlin in her rightful place. And folks, what does that really mean when you put somebody in their rightful place, right? You're really letting everybody know that Caitlin Clark has been a godsend to the WNBA. And the fact that the treatment that she's received, it really is unwarranted. And Lieberman from Old Dominion, I mean, she's been the WNBA, I mean, MVP. She's won the WNBA championship. So there's really nothing that Lieberman hasn't seen. But Lieberman just really breaks it down. And I've been on this story for a minute. And it really surprising to me because it's really telling the truth on what's really going on out there with Caitlin. And you really got to look at it. Caitlin Clark, known for her famous deep three-pointers, fearless drives, and dynamic playmaking, has fastly become one of the most watched and praised athletes in women's basketball. Lieberman drew comparison between Clark's influence and that of global sports icons. What Caitlin Clark has done for the game is generational, she said, noting that Clark's skill to draw both casual and hardcore fans to the sport rivals the effect of legends of Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. She is certainly one of a kind, generational player at all levels. And really, she goes on, Lieberman on Caitlin Clark's impact. I did my job. Taurasi did her job. Bird catching, everybody had a hand in the growth of women's basketball. But what Caitlin did in college, she got you watching. She got the average person watching the game of women's basketball. And folks, you're putting that in a perspective to say what Lieberman is saying is there were people who were watching the WNBA. There are people who are watching women's basketball. Now, today, you have a situation where one player has transcended from the hardcore women's basketball fan. That's a W. Don't touch the W. And then you have the new fan that's walking in, and Lieberman saying, this is because of Caitlin Clark, and it's bringing more eyes and more revenue to the game. And that's where you got to really make sure you get a good understanding, because what Lieberman's doing is reflecting Clark's unique talent. Caitlin Clark is a very, very unique talent in the game of women's basketball. And when you look at that to what she did in college and what you're watching now, it's something, folks, that you'll never see again. And a lot of people think this is something that's super easy. Well, it's not, because the game itself, to bring this many fans to the game, it's not natural to do. Now, when Lieberman continues, she said something really that was really interesting. She says Clark's influence goes beyond scoring and Instagram highlight reels, known as the Caitlin Clark effect. Her presence has led to higher TV ratings, larger audiences at games, and increased media coverage of the WNBA. To put it in context, those stats has never been as high as it is now, and we owe that to Clark. Analysts note that Clark's playing style, which is a combination of clinical shooting and wild, and I do mean wild, court vision, has caught fans and draw attention to the league's evolving talent pool. Beyond the court, Clark's marketability is also changing the business side of women's basketball. Thanks to her, we're seeing many sponsors, broadcasters, and teams recognizing the commercial potential of female players who can deliver both performance and spectacle, stating that Clark a symbol of the growth for the WNBA. Folks, that article came out by Mecca, and it really details with Caitlin Clark. And I want to say this specifically. When you have a situation of somebody that draws that many fans, and I told you with the WNBA officials, you're going to see a change. You're going to see the way the officials called it prior and where they're going to call it now. Why? The revenue value is too high for the Indiana Fever not to be in the WNBA playoffs. The WNBA, the CBA, everyone makes more money if Caitlin Clark is in the playoffs. Everyone makes more money if Caitlin Clark goes to the second round. And everyone makes more money if Caitlin Clark goes to the third round or wins a WNBA championship. The reason that is, when I say everybody, I'm saying the players included. It's one of those things, folks, with Larry Bird, the mandate came down after Larry Bird, the treatment, that you can't touch Larry Bird. If you sneezed on Larry Bird, there was a foul call. It's going to get to the point, if you sneeze on Caitlin Clark, there's going to be a foul call. And what you're going to face is a 90% free throw shooter that's going to go to the line. This thing here, Money Mike's, I got to call it like I see it. In corporate enterprise business, there is no color. The revenue, this is not about capitalism. It's not about money. This is about a women's movement that the women have to stop the infighting and grow the game, because you also have to remember, when you play in the WNBA, you have the players who the legacy you're playing on who played before you. And the players who are not in the league today but are coming in the league, you're going to become a part of that legacy. And then we got to fix the fact that you've got people that with the sorority, I call it a sorority of the WNBA, you got Indiana Fever players who are playing now that Caitlin's going to be played that were cut because they didn't fit the sorority. They were cut, right? But these players are going to fight, and they're going to fight hard because this is an opportunity for them that they didn't have. And they're going to play with Caitlin, and they're going to find out this is a whole different experience that no one's ever experienced, what it means to play with Caitlin Clark. And that's where you get to Aerial Powers, who's going to really recognize that. Odyssey Sims is going to recognize that. Bartley's going to recognize. All the players are going to recognize. And Lexi Hole, bless her heart, 2 black eyes. I mean, goodness gracious. You talk about a dedicated and will to start something and finish something. Lexi Hole is the epitome of that. Sophie Cunningham is the epitome of that, right? Because those players gave up their bodies and sacrificed. Colson, McDonald. Those players have serious injuries, folks, but they sacrificed for the Indiana Fever. And now you've got new players who are coming in, and the talent level is increasing. It's going to be a battle, but I'll tell you, I'll be honest, the Golden State Vacaris don't belong on the same floor with the Indiana Fever. Because once these players get their full mind together and understand we are champions, then the rest is easy. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. Nancy Lieberman get a great take. And folks, it was brought to you from the Marker Sport. And I really enjoyed it. I took liberty to say that, when you get something and you talk about Nancy Lieberman, and what did Nancy Lieberman do? She just made it clear. She says, let's take a step back to put Caitlin Clark in her rightful place in the WNBA. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. All things are possible to those who believe. Indiana Fever, Golden State Vacaris, Indiana Fever going to win that ball game. We'll see you soon.